Welcome to this training in communication skills. The unit has been broken down into 7 sections based on the learning outcomes identified at the beginning of the lesson. In addition, suggested learning activities and additional learning materials and references for further reading have been identified in every section. Introduction. Communication skills is one of the 7 basic competencies unit of learning, unit of competency offered in all the levels of qualifications. The unit covers the competencies required in meeting communication needs of clients and colleagues as well as developing, establishing, maintaining communication pathways and strategies. It also covers competencies for conducting interviews, facilitating group discussions and representing the organization in various forums. The significance of communication skills to enable learners get along well and avoid conflict in workplaces and organizations. The critical competency to be covered includes communication strategies in organizations and communication pathways in workplaces. The basic resources required include access to relevant workplaces and relevant materials. The unit of competency covers 7 learning outcomes. Each of the learning outcomes presents learning activities that cover performance criteria statements, thus creating an opportunity for the trainee to demonstrate knowledge and skills in the occupational standards and content in curriculum. Information sheet provides definition of key terms, content and illustration to guide in training. The competency may be assessed through written test, demonstration, practical assignment, interview, oral questioning and case study. Self-assessment is provided at the end of each learning outcome. Holistic assessment with other units relevant to the industry sector workplace and job role is recommended. Performance standard meets communication needs of clients and colleagues in organizations and workplace and develops effective, efficient communication strategies and pathways in accordance to the organizational standards, procedures, message communicated and the time available. List of learning outcomes. A. Utilize specialized communication skills processes. B. Develop communication strategies. C. Establish and maintain communication pathways. D. Promote use of communication strategies. E. Conduct interview. F. Facilitate group discussion. G. Represent the organization. Learning activities. 1.1. Identify and met the specific communication needs of clients and colleagues. Special instructions. Role play the use of different learning activities. 1.2. Use different approaches to meet communication needs of clients and colleagues. Special instructions. Role play the use of different communication approaches. Learning activities. 1.3. Address conflicts promptly and in a timely way without compromising the standards of the organization. Special instructions. Simulate a conflict resolution mechanism. Utilize specialized communication skills processes. Introduction. This learning outcome involves identifying the specific needs of the clients and colleagues, using different approaches to meet communication needs and addressing conflicts promptly and in a timely way without compromising the standards of the organization. Definition of key terms. Communication. Communication refers to the process of sending and receiving messages between the sender and the receiver. The messages can be sent through verbal, non-verbal communication process. Communication process consists of some interrelated steps or parts through which messages are sent from sender to receive. It is the sharing of meaningful information between 2 or more people with the goal of the receiver understanding the sender's intended message. Mode of communication. It is the channel through which messages are passed and received. It is the medium used by the sender and the receiver to communicate. Specific communication needs of clients and colleagues are identified and met. For communication to take place, there is need to understand the communication needs of colleagues and clients. This requires identification of the needs and meeting them. In order to identify needs, it is important writing, graphical representations, signals, sign and behavior. To ask and record how colleagues wish to receive communication. This must be done upon first contact or later as soon as practicable. The communication needs must be identified opportunistically and proactively but not retrospectively. Methods of identifying communication needs. Self-definition of communication needs that clients and colleagues are asked to define their communication needs. This ensures reception of information in a format that can be best understood by the client, colleague. Asking for any communication or information support needs. Asking for a minimum of 2 options or ways in which they can explain their needs. Asking the clients or colleagues to advise the organization of their communication or information needs. Including a standard line in all correspondence in order to encourage people to contact the organization, should they have any information. Considering people who are unable to read letters or any information, either blind or illiterate, thus can be contacted through telephone. Using existing data about information needs to serve the clients and colleagues in the organization. Therefore, in order to identify the communication needs and preferences of clients and colleagues, there is need to assess clients' colleagues' information about language and communication needs. Use different strategies and sources to identify the needs. Observe the colleagues' clients' behavior and get the communication. Pay attention to the colleagues' clients when communicating. Seek appropriate, suitable ways to understand, interpret clients' colleagues' communication. Record and report communication needs according to the workplace requirements. Note: in order to meet the needs of the clients and the colleagues, effective communication must be realized. Effective communication refers to a communication where the intended information is delivered successfully and understood clearly by the 2 parties, sender and the receiver. Effective communication must therefore be clear, coherent, courteous, complete, focused, and sensitive to emotions, and must be listened to keenly. Communication process. For communication to happen, it must be composed of a sender, receiver, message, feedback, medium and contextual factors. The figure on the next slide illustrates the same. Sender decoding message, encoding receiver feedback noise. Different approaches to communication. Effective communication builds relationships between colleagues, clients and organizations. Meeting communication needs of colleagues, clients is a sign of respect. The following approaches can be used to meet communication needs of clients, colleagues in an organization. One-on-one time with the client, colleague. Total respectfulness, i.e., demonstrates the respect you have for a person comprehensively. Writings, letters, i.e., very powerful and are treated seriously. Clarification and bringing light to a situation, i.e., it is important to clearly state what your organization wants. Understanding the importance of others. Total listening, i.e., this prioritizes the client, colleague and the issue at hand. Patience and calmness. Means of communication. Communication simply refers to the creation and exchange of meaning. This can happen through the following means as illustrated in table below. Modes of communication. There are 3 modes of communication, namely: I. Interpretive communication is a one-way communication without getting feedback for active negotiation of the meaning with the producer, speaker or the writer. The listener, viewer or the reader interprets whatever the speaker, writer wants the receiver to get, understand. E. Interpersonal communication is a two-way communication with active negotiation of meaning between the sender and the receiver. It is spontaneous, involves exchange of information and meaningful because of its two-way. Adjustments and clarifications are made accordingly. Presentation communication is a one-way communication meant for audience, viewers, listeners or readers. It does not involve exchange of information and there is no direct opportunity for active negotiation of meaning. The following is a table showing the differences. 1. Interpersonal two-way communication that allows active negotiation of meaning among individuals. Interpretive one-way communication without room for negotiation of meaning. Presentational one-way communication that is intended for an audience. 2. Interpersonal spontaneous and involves information exchange, thus very meaningful. Interpretive there is individual interpretation of information from the sender by the receiver. Presentational information is presented and there is no exchange, hence no negotiation for meaning. 3. Interpersonal participants may monitor and observe one another for common meaning. Interpretive interpretations differ depending on the receiver's understanding. Presentational the presenter of the message gives direction. Addressing conflicts using communication. Conflicts are inevitable at workplaces where people of different personalities and backgrounds meet daily. At workplace, conflicts may occur in different ways, e.g., between two colleagues, an employee and a client, teams of supervisors, etc., irrespective of the different ways, types of conflicts. The root cause of conflicts in an organization is poor communication. Therefore, conflicts can be solved, addressed amicably, promptly, and without compromising the standards of the organization. Types of conflicts in an organization. The following types of conflicts are likely to happen in an organization. Conflict within the individual, e.g., role conflict, value conflicts, etc. Interpersonal conflicts, i.e., conflict between two or more individuals. Conflict between an individual and a group. Intergroup conflict, e.g., between groups, departments, etc. Interorganizational conflict, i.e., occurs between organizations. Handling, addressing conflict in an organization. For day-to-day smooth running of organizations, the following steps need to be taken promptly to address conflicts, if any. I. Embrace conflict. We should not avoid conflict or pretend that it has not happened. We must deal with these uncomfortable issues as soon as possible to avoid bad feelings and more problems. Colleagues should be encouraged to find a solution to their differences. E. Talk together. Create time and place to speak to each other. This should be in a place without interruptions, and enough time should be spared for this. E. Listen carefully. Give full attention to the person speaking to you are talking to. Ask for clarifications for better understanding. IV. Find agreement. Resolutions are always possible when agreements are reached. Finding an agreement shows the willingness to establish common ground and build trust elements again. V. Provide guidance. Give directions on the next step and suggest further actions after an agreement is reached. V. Be quick to forgive with resolutions. No grudges, tension should be kept. Barriers to effective communication. These include physical barriers, personal barriers, semantic, language barriers, status barriers, organizational structure barriers, barriers due to inadequate attention, premature evaluation, emotional evaluation, resistance to change. Conflict is addressed promptly and in a timely manner and in a way that does not compromise the standards of the organization. Conclusion: this unit has addressed ways of identifying and meeting communication needs of clients and colleagues. It has also investigated ways of addressing conflict promptly and in a timely way in an organization. Further reading: Cheney, Getal, 2004, Organizational Communication in an Age of Globalization. Issues, Reflections, Practices. Longgrove Ill. Waveland Press Mutua R. 1992. Study in Communication Skills. London Macmillan Press Limited.